So I'll just read a brief statement. As you're all aware, Port Adelaide players Angus, Monfries and Paddy Ryder, along with 32 other past and present Essendon players, were today found guilty by the Court of Arbitration for Sport for committing an anti-doping rule violation that subsequently suspended for 12 months. As a club, we respect the decision, but are nonetheless disappointed with the outcome. In particular, we are devastated for Angus and Paddy, who have already been through so much. They are two fine young men with great characters, and it is so unfortunate that they now find themselves in this exceptionally challenging position. We are extremely proud as to how they've conducted themselves throughout this whole process, and will now provide them with all the support they require during their stint on the sideline. Their welfare is the most important thing for us right now, and we, and I'm sure the Port Adelaide football community, will stand by them over the next 12 months. Now, I'm available to answer any football administration questions today, while Ken's here obviously to discuss the football related and how it impacts our playing squad. Just to be aware, there are some questions that we may not have all the answers to at this stage and might require some deferment to our board, but we'll do our very best right now to answer all the questions that you have. So we'll fire it over to you.
How are the boys?
Sorry?
How are the boys?
Oh, as you could imagine, they're devastated. This is in their lives, this is probably the most important thing that they do, bar their families, and they've had that taken away from them this morning.
How do you come back?
Oh, they come back. I mean, people come back from all sorts of setbacks in life, and this is no different for them. People come back from injury, they come back from other tragedies in their life, and they do come back. We've seen that regularly, and we often get that. So both boys, for me, it's just their welfare, make sure they're okay right at the moment, and then we'll support them through their time, and they'll come back and be part of our football club.
What have they said to you, Ken? Have you spoken at all with them?
Yeah, I met with the boys this morning with Chris, and we were there to probably support them as much as anything, and same thing as I just said. My number one concern is just to make sure they're okay and they're dealing with it, because they woke up this morning not thinking that they were facing a 12-month suspension. I'm sure they went there with some anxiety about what the ruling may have been going to be, and as it's turned out, it's probably been at the top end of rulings as far as penalties go for them.
So with their welfare, is it just about sort of keeping a dialogue open with them, or what sort of things you do to ensure they're okay? Yeah,
it's exactly what it is, Harry. We just continually communicate with them. Both Chris and myself again today, twice have already had conversations with them after that, and just to make sure that they're okay and that they're dealing, and they've got family. Paddy's got a young family, Gus has got family. You're also mindful of all the people that it's affected around them, and let's not forget the other 32 players too. That we've got two at our football club. That there's a whole range of clubs that are affected.
How are you, Ken? Are you angry?
Oh no, I'm disappointed. Of course, I'm disappointed. You have the quality of the two people, the character of the two people mainly is people you like to have around your football club, and they, we would love them to be able to participate this year, but we accept the umpire's decision as we always do.
How does it work in terms of replacing? I heard Gil talk about what Essendon can do. Is it you're allowed to upgrade to rookies? Is that how it works?
Yeah, we'll appear to at this stage that we'll have the opportunity to upgrade 2 rookies. We would hope and like to think that there's a little bit more to that than that, but again, Chris just touched on before, that's going to be a matter for a bit later on.
Chris, what are the players allowed to do? Are they allowed to train with you, be around the club? I know they can't play matches, but...
Yeah, so no, essentially they can't be at the footy club until quite close to when the ban ends. So there is a provision where the players can come back about 2 months before their suspension ends, but effectively we can't have any training, contact with them for that period of time. So it's when you put it in that context, it's a significant, impossible.
Are they allowed them to go and train with, say, an SANFL club or even a suburban club? Or?
Well, they're all the things right now that we're obviously having to deal with. We're trying to get some clarification from the AFL, but our understanding is that they've got to be the ones who are actually getting themselves to a position where they're fit and ready to come back when the time comes.
So you're not going to assist with helping them find a place to train or anything like that, or just not allowed to have?
Again, Harry, they're all the things that we're going through right now. We really need clarification on the extent of what the ban is. Of course, we would love to put our people around them to make sure that they're in a position to come back when the ban ends. But right now, we don't have that clarification.
Do you expect a legal challenge?
From who?
Well, from anyone any clubs for Essendon?
I think Richard, they're all the things that are going to be considered. I mean, our position right now is just to support the players. What the next steps are for the Players Association and the players, I think it's best for the Players Association to answer. But we'll certainly support our players as much as we possibly can over this period.
Do you support them in a legal challenge?
Well, that's not our right in this situation, Richard. So what we need to do is make sure their welfare. And as Ken said earlier on, all of these things, I understand why they're issues for you right now, but our primary focus today has been player welfare. This is a significant ban for these guys. We want to make sure that we, from a club perspective, are as supportive as we possibly can, and the next steps, no doubt they'll be talked about from an AFL Players Association perspective.
The AFL indicated today that the players would be paid for the next year, which is a big part of welfare, I guess. Is that your understanding? You'll be able to pay them?
Well, again, they're the things that we're going through right now. So our understanding is that there is an ability to continue to pay the players whilst they're not at the club. But they're all the things that, from an AFL perspective, we want to get clarity on. Of course, nothing that we want to do right now. It wants to be seen as contravening any part of the ban. So we will comply in absolute requirement with the anti-doping violation, and we'll work within the parameters that we can.
Do you feel at all slighted by Essendon and feel like they maybe should even compensate you in some way, shape or form? Because in effect, you've taken over their wrongdoing.
Look, right now, again, where the AFL Players Association and the players take it is not necessarily for us to comment on right now. Our position is really just to be as supportive as we possibly can to two guys who are clearly doing it tough today.
You obviously knew there was a chance this would happen when you brought Ryder across. Is that a bad move now, that what's happened today?
Absolutely not. Patrick Ryder is a fantastic person. We're talking about recruiting players with good character. He ticks all the boxes. From our perspective, we have no qualms with the decisions that have been made by a footy club previously.
Ken, on the field, how do you recover now? I mean, with Paddy and Angus gone, how important is Dixon become and how important is Lobe the fact that he's...
They're all things that we'll work through. I've been asked the question for the last 6 or 8 weeks, how are we going to play 2 rucks? So I still have that same drama. I've got Dixon coming to the club. I was just talking to someone upstairs, but you're building something and you're starting to get there, and you get to a point. It's like building something that you get from Bunnings, and there's a bit missing. You go, okay, well, am I going to stop building? Am I going to stop trying to get this? No, we're going to be okay. We've seen last year West Coast lost their reigning best and fairest winner in the NAB Cup through injury. This is a different way to lose a player. Great thing about footy, you've been in it a long time, you get a lot of experience, and you deal with what's in front of you immediately, and we'll move on to deal with that as best we possibly can, and we still look forward to a really successful season.
It doesn't make the picture of how to use Lobe and Dixon any clearer for you?
No, it doesn't. No, not at all. My plans last night was Lobe and Ryder to be rucking for us, and that certainly makes some adjustments to us now, but that's what we'll deal with, and as we get on, let's not worry about that today. Let's worry about Gus and Paddy, and as I said, the other 32 boys, and let's support them as much as we can, not talk about them not being there.
Are you confident that Monfries will play again for the club? He's got the contract at his age?
Yeah, well, they're all things that, again, that we will work through, and it's a difficult time for Gus, and you know what, already we've had that honest conversation. That's what we deal like. We deal in the honest conversations, but good people survive. Angus, Monfries and Paddy Ryder are outstanding people.
Chris, is there room for negotiation with the AFL in terms of what you can do? They've indicated 2 rookies can come up. Your rookies might be young. You might want to, like Essendon, be allowed to go and find somebody somewhere else. So do you think that there is?
Well, we saw Gillen's press conference earlier on, and we're obviously made aware of what the AFL's position on it was. We'll certainly want to make some representation as to some things that we see are important to our club, in our circumstances.
Yeah.
And that will be done, in conjunction with our board over the next period of time.
How's the rest of the playing group cope with the use? How do they go?
Oh, look, I haven't seen them this morning. They've been off-site training, which was part of their program. So I'm sure that's their teammates. They're devastated. They'll be upset for them. I'm sure they will have made contact with the boys. They'll support them every way they possibly can. They'll make them feel a part of our football club as best they possibly can through this time. But it's what footy clubs are good. We do come together pretty strong, and we do support people when they had some some disappointment in their life or in their game.
How did it happen this morning with Paddy and Angus at the club, or were they at home and when they came out of the decision?
So that they were with Ken and I. And obviously heard the decision via a phone. I suppose you link up, you could call it. And as Ken said earlier on, really disappointed from the minute they heard it, the minute that the penalty was floating around by text message and whatnot. We're in a position right now where we just want to support them as much as we possibly can.
Are you worried they'll become disillusioned with football through this?
No. Oh, I'm not. Not from my point of view as the coach. Both boys, as I said, Gus is a little bit older than Paddy, but Paddy's a long-term player that we've signed to a long-term deal, and they've both been parts of the future. They still love their footy. They'll deal with the disappointment. They'll be angry at times. They'll be flat. There'll be all those emotions that will come out. But I tell you, when it gets closer to the time running out, and for us and for everyone else, it does go reasonably quick. But for them, it'll be very, very slow early. But when the excitement comes back around it, they're coming back to what they love doing. They'll be up and about.
Will Paddy have a counsellor? For Paddy?
Oh, I think both boys will have support.
I think just to add to your question there, we're confident in the state of minds of both, Gus and Paddy, but there are 32 others as well, and that's why I'm sure everyone is going to be talking about player welfare right now. The reality is that we need to put the services around these guys to make sure that they, aren't lost to the game totally for that period of time. It's really important that they can maintain some sort of link to what's going on. Now, again, that will be done within the constraints of what we can. But clearly, I'm sure that there would be people out there out of the 32 who may well feel that way.
So, Chris, as it stands, this ban is in effect today?
In effect, yes.
Chris, do you agree with the Players Association that the players haven't actually done anything wrong here and they've been unfairly punished?
Oh, look, I think that's for them, the Players Association, as the representative body of the players, to actually say. Our position has always been, the final arbitration is the final decision. We're at a point now where we're just making sure that we can put the services around the guys to make sure that they come back fit and healthy.
Are you satisfied, with the compensation, being able to upgrade 2 rookies? Is that enough? And is it a good opportunity for those rookies to...
Well, we've really only been able to digest that over the last hour. I think we're going to have a good look at what the AFL have put forward there. I've no doubt that Ken would want to make sure that we've got a full list to choose from.
I'd like to start the season with a full list of players. There's no doubt about that. Sometimes out of your control, things change. But I think Chris and the football strategic committee will go to work and make some decisions based on what we can and can't do. We don't. I think in most circumstances this is an unusual one. I think there should be some flexibility in what that looks like.
And Ken, just further to that, those players, you've lost a fair bit in your salary cap there. Would you hope that those two players...
How do you know that?
Well, you'd obviously hope that those players that you upgrade or bring in, whatever the case may be, would be exempt from the salary cap.
Luckily I don't deal with that, Chris.
They're all the things that we're working through now, Tom. Ultimately, I saw that Essendon were going to be given some extra salary cap to deal with extra players in. At the moment, we don't have that luxury of getting players in. If that was to be a situation for us down the track, I'm sure the AFL would look at it.
Chris, do you talk to the other clubs? Do the clubs talk with one another, or do you think it'll be just you doing your thing and dealing with the AFL?
Oh, look, I'm sure that we'll all get together at some point later on today. I've spoken to most of the clubs involved, over the last 24 hours. I'm sure that we'll get our minds together and see what we can come up with.
You've obviously got a stake in this, but do you think objectively it's important to have tough penalties for the open?
Oh, of course, our club, understands the need for clean sport. Absolutely. What we're dealing with here is an individual situation where the players, as the question was asked before, the players believe that legitimately they, have done nothing wrong and went to the nth degree to try and make sure that they weren't doing anything wrong. Players Association have backed them up today, but fundamentally we're here today to say that we accept the decision and that now our role is to really provide the support to those two blokes.
Well, where's the evidence, Chris?
Well, have you had a chance to have a look at
exactly. There's no evidence of any wrongdoing, so how do you...
look at right. Richard. That's not our position right now, mate. We are in a national competition that exists within an international doping framework. We exist amongst that, and we accept the decision in this case.
And obviously it's a tough day, but in a way you're relieved that it kind of puts a full stop in it and you can start working towards the resolution.
Well, that little cloud that's been there for a while finally does go away, albeit we've got to wait for a long while for it to clear. And that's again, the boys is what I worry about. I don't worry about almost the club today. I worry about the boys, and as long as they're okay, we'll be okay. And as a football club, we'll be strong in 2016. And our members and our supporters, they'll look forward to watching Port Adelaide play still, as will Paddy and Gus, and they'll look forward to the opportunity to come back to Port Adelaide.